this video, we'll take a look at the Dutch spiral. Stay with me and I'll show you how. The Dutch spiral is a great stitch for making bracelets and necklaces. It's a twisted stitch with a combination of beads. And it has these big fluffy spans of beads. You can see the spans taper up until they get large in the middle and then taper down again. You can make these as big or as small as you like. So let's get started. For this, I'm using 3mm beads, size 8 seed beads, and size 11 seed beads in two colours, peach and pink. These pinks are going to be our span colour. We thread our needle with about an arm span of thread. We pick up a 3mm, an 8, a peach and a pink. Slide that down, leaving about a 6-inch tail. And we sew back up through all 4 of those beads again. And to pull them into a circle, we sew back through that first 3mm bead. Now for this pattern, whichever bead we're coming out of is the bead we pick up. So we're coming out of this 3mm, we pick up a 3mm, and we sew through the size 8. So that bead should be sitting between those 2 beads in the first row. We're coming out of an 8, we pick up an 8, and we sew through the next bead, which is a peach. And again, that bead should be sitting between those 2 beads. Now we're coming out between the peach and the pink, and this is where our span is going to be, and we're going to taper up. So we're coming out of a peach, we pick up a peach, and 2 pinks to taper up our span. We skip over the pink and the 3mm from the first row, and we sew through the next 3mm. We're coming out of a 3mm, we pick up a 3mm, we skip over the first green, sew through the next one. We're coming out of a green, we pick up a green, we skip over the first peach, sew through the next one, and this is where we're going to do our next span. We have 2, so we want to pick up 3, and we're coming out of the peach, so we pick up a peach and 3 pinks. We skip over the first 3mm and sew through the next one. We're coming out of a 3mm, pick up a 3mm, skip the first green through the next one, we're coming out of a green, we pick up a green, skip the first peach, sew through the next one, we're coming out of a peach, we pick up a peach, and we want to do our span. We have 3 beads, so we pick up 4. And we skip over the first 3mm and sew through the next one. We pick up a 3mm, skip over the first green, sew through the next one. Pick up a green, skip the first peach, sew through the next one. Coming out of a peach, we pick up a peach, and our last row had 4 pinks, so we pick up 5. We skip the first 3mm and we sew for the next 3mm. We pick up a 3mm, skip the first green, sew for the next, pick up a green, skip the first peach, sew for the next. We pick up a peach, and our last row had 5 pinks, so we pick up 6. We skip the first 3mm and sew for the next. Pick up a 3mm, skip the first green, sew for the next. Pick up a green, skip the first peach through the next. Pick up a peach. Our last row had 6 beads, so we pick up 7. We skip over the first 3mm and through the next one. And we can carry on tapering up, making our spans as large as we like. We're going to stop at 7. And then you carry on picking up 7 beads until you reach your desired length. But you need to take into account tapering down. So we want to make a bracelet of 6 inches. We measure our taper. It's 3/4 of an inch. So if you want to make a piece of 6 inches, we carry on beading until we reach 5 1/4 inches, and then we've allowed those 3/4 of an inch to taper back down. Let's continue. Continue in the same pattern, picking up the bead we're coming out of, skipping the first bead and sewing through the next. When we reach our span, we pick up our first colour and 7 of our next colour, and skip over the first 3mm and through the second. Now we've done a few rows, we can see our spiral begin to form, and we carry on following the spiral pattern and picking up a span of 7 until we reach our desired lengths. Now, so we've made our piece as long as we like and we want to start to taper down, we carry on the same pattern, picking up a 3mm, skip the first green through the next one, pick up a green, skip the first peach through the next one. We pick up a peach, we have our span of 7, now we want to pick up 6. We skip the first 3mm, sew for the next. Pick up a 3mm through the green, pick up a green, through the peach, pick up a peach, and our last row had a span of 6, so now we pick up 5. A 3mm, a green, a peach. Our last row had a span of 5, so we pick up 4. A 3mm, a green, a peach, and our last row had 4 pinks, so we pick up 3. 3mm, a green, a peach. Our last row had 3 pinks, so we pick up 2. A 3mm, green, a peach, and our last row had 2 pinks. So we pick up 1 and we sew through that 3mm. We then sew back around through these top 4 beads. That's the green, the peach and the pink, and back through the 3mm. We pick up the thread between the beads, pull it through, leaving a loop. We pass our needle through the loop twice, pulling tight to make a surgeon's knot. We sew through the next bead, and we make another knot, grabbing the thread between the beads, pulling through till we have a loop, pass our needle through the loop twice, and then carry on through the next bead. And that's how to do the Dutch spiral.